Today is the Maniacs Commanders trade deadline preview. Do they stand pat or do they make a move at the November 5th trade deadline? Come on, let's talk about it next. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Scott again, and today we're going to look at the Washington Commanders trade deadline preview. I have five, or really six, trade targets that are connected to the Washington Commanders, and we're going to analyze should they stand pat or should they make a move, and what would it cost to make that move. So let's get into it. Like I said, the trade deadline is November 5th. So right now, with every good team, there's always going to be trade noise connected to that team. I believe there was Darrell Oliver, my guy, who kind of put that out there with his video. And he made that comment where anytime a team's good, you're going to be connected to moves that are aimed to make that team better. And if you look at the Washington Commanders right now, they are 4-1 and they are rocking. I mean, they have a schedule that is very favorable to a contending team. So let's take a look at all the trade targets. Like I said, I have six trade targets that the Washington Commanders are connected to. So we're going to look at what are the pros, what are the cons, and what would it take to acquire their talent, and should we even make a move in the first place? Like I said, so let's get into it. And this list is going from the least probable to the most probable. So let's get into it. Number one, Davante Adams, wide receiver of the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, what are the pros with Davante Adams? Pretty easy. He is a dynamic route runner. I mean, this guy wrote the book on running routes. Now, he obviously would make this team better, a lot better. Now, he's a guy who would take a lot of pressure off of Terry McLaurin. Now, in that situation, who would be the number one? You kind of figured that Davante would take over as number one, and then Terry McLaurin would be number two, which again takes a lot of pressure over Terry and sets Terry up to really have really good numbers, man, because a lot of the defensive pressure in the opposing team's defense, or really the secondary, is going to be centered on Davante Adams. So it's going to open up Terry McLaurin, Luke McCaffrey, other receivers, no Brown, open up opportunities for them. So it's definitely a really, best case scenario. The guy can play. He's a guy who is an all-pro wide receiver. Now, what are the cons? Number one, his age. He is getting older. Now, in the realm of sports, he is older. Now, is 31 old? Nah, but in sports, it is getting old. He is towards the back end of his, as far as his value, man. So, looking at what kind of cons, man. Well, number one, his price tag. Outside his age, 31, is that old per se? No, he's still in his prime. That's what I wanted to say. Kind of had a brain fart, but he's still in the back side of his prime. So he's still, technically in his prime, but to a certain degree, you're going to see some decline. Now, is it going to be this season? Is it going to be next season? That's the question. But the question is also, are you willing to pay top dollar for a guy who is 31, who in a year or two will start declining at some point? So like I said, the cons to Davante Adams is his price tag. Over the next 2 years, you're paying him $70 million over 2 years. When you look at his contract for 2025 and 2026. So, $70 million for a guy who's going to be 32, 33 years old wide receiver, that's a little too much in my opinion. And like I said, the second con is the type of package that you're going to put together to acquire this guy. You best believe you're going to have to send a couple picks. Now, with his age, are you going to have to send first rounders at this stage in his career? You could probably get away with not sending a first rounder. But before we can really answer that, let's pull up the Washington Commanders draft pick situation real quick. Because like I said, we're still in a stage where we need to acquire picks. And that's the thing with Davante Adams, man. You're going to have to spend some picks. Now, looking at 2025 real fast, we hold 6 picks. So we actually traded away our 7th round pick. They also might have a conditional 6th round selection coming from the Pittsburgh Steelers as part of their the trade for William Jackson III. So there could be another pick now, but a 6th rounder is not going to get you Davante Adams, right? So looking at those picks, are you willing to trade away at number 2 or number 3 or both, whether it's 2025 or 26? Because in 2026 we do have all our picks. So could we make the move if they want to ask for a 2nd or 3rd? We can, yeah, absolutely, we can make that move. But I mean, the biggest thing with this team, and we're going to cover it at the end because I'm going to take a look at the overall philosophy of Adam Peters, man. But he's made it known that he wants to build through the draft and supplement through free agency. So I don't see them giving away draft capital for a receiver who, yes, he's in the back stages of the later stages of his prime career. But, he's 31 years old. and in his price tag, 2 years, $70 million is a lot of money to put towards a guy where, it's just a matter of when he starts declining, in my opinion. Like I said, he's definitely an all pro wide receiver. Nobody can take that away from him. He is a dynamic. He's a top five, and in my opinion, top three receiver in the game right now. But the price tag is too much. 2 years, 70 million, and then you're probably gonna have to give away a couple picks, and you might have to send a player. I mean, who knows what they might want in return? Because, like I said, looking at Devontae Adams, could Las Vegas ask for Jonathan Allen in return? That could be very, very likely. If you look at his price tag, him and Deron Payne's contracts, and the fact that they haven't exactly lived up to their contracts. So, and if you look at Jonathan Allen, his name has been mentioned in trade possibilities. So, like I said, what could they ask in return? Could you look at a couple picks in the player? But I think that the asking price is going to be a little steep for a guy who's 31 years old. And if you look at his age 32 and 33 seasons, at what point does he start to decline? And at that point, you're on the hook for a 32 to 33-year-old wide receiver who is owed 70 years over the course of the next 2 seasons. So I think it's a very low probability that we make a move for him because, like I said, Adam Peters, he made it known that he wants to build through the draft and supplement through free agency. And you're going to have to break the bank to acquire Devontae Adams, man. And why gamble the future for a now move where you don't know, how this is really going to end up? It really echoes a Dan Snyder move, in my opinion. Looking at the Deion Sanders move, Bruce Smith, acquiring an older player where he still has potential, but it's not. Look, he's slipping out of his prime. So, like I said, it mirrors a Bruce Smith, Deion Sanders move, in my opinion. It just echoes Dan Snyder. So I don't think we should definitely not make that move, in my opinion. I think it's a low likelihood that we make that move. Number 4 on the list, John Mechie III from the Houston Texans. Now, what are the pros? And really, what is the biggest pro with John Mechie III? Now, if you look at the potential injury to Nico Collins right now, it's kind of up in the air. He's questionable whether he plays on Sunday, but Nico Collins is a big part of the offense. So could they be kind of hesitant to move a receiver right now, depending on how severe or whether he even is out of the game or not? Looking at, talking about Nico Collins, that could be a scenario with the Houston Texans, man. They could hold on to John Mechie III. Looking at how severe the Nico Collins injury is, even though he's questionable, and I definitely have to look after the video and see what his status is. But the pro won't break the bank to acquire him. I mean, right now he's making $1.8 million. So you can find a wide receiver opposite of Terry McLaurin where he's shown potential, especially in the preseason. If you look at his stat line from this year's preseason, man, he played well. Now, is he necessarily an upgrade from Noah Brown or De'Ami Brown? I'm gonna say no. I think that John Mechie III, you won't break the bank to acquire his services, but is he necessarily an upgrade? And I'm gonna say no. I mean, you might as well stand pat and roll with De'Ami Brown or Noah Brown at number 2, and then after the season, go into the offseason, see if you can pick up that number 2 in the draft or spend a little cash and find that guy in the free agency. Or, it really depends on the vision going forward because Terry McLaurin is getting a little older too. So at what point, a lot of intangibles, a lot of dominoes need to fall. But like I said, with John Mechie III, you see the potential, young guy who could definitely play. But to me, he's not necessarily an upgrade from De'Ami Brown and Noah Brown, in my humble opinion. So I'm going to say no to that move. I think that you definitely stand pat. You don't make that move, even though, and kind of a con of that. Yes, he only makes $1.8 million, but he is on an expiring contract. And really, you're making a move for a guy where, you won't break the bank. And it's not really risky because you're not really breaking the bank to acquire him. And if he pans out, you can probably re-sign him on the cheap. But if he doesn't pan out, you can let him walk. So it's not a risky move. And if they're looking to make a kind of a under-the-radar risky move, you could see them making a John Mechie III move. But like I said, is he necessarily an upgrade at this point? And why mess up the chemistry of the offense? Because they're starting to build up chemistry, especially with Jay Daniels and this wide receiver core, man. So like I said, why mess with the chemistry for a guy who may not necessarily be an upgrade? All right, let's move on to number 3 tonight. J.C. Horn, cornerback with the Carolina Panthers. Now, J.C. Horn, man, obviously risky move, man, because of his injury past, man. But look, what will be a pro? Now, he is a risky trade acquisition if we make that move, man. But saying that, he's a guy that, when healthy, can be a nice compliment to Benjamin St-Juste and Emmanuel Forbes and company. We definitely need more talent in the secondary, especially cornerback. And J.C. Horn when healthy, has shown that he is an all-pro caliber cornerback. And you're looking at a team like the Carolina Panthers, which right now they're hot garbage, and they're probably selling right now. You could probably get him with a package that you really don't have to break the bank, man. Because like I said, he does have those injury concerns. He does have the injury past, man. So let's take a look at his contract real quick because, like I said, the pro is his contract. Yes, very risky because of the injuries. But in saying that, his contract is not bad. This year he'll be making $1 million, or technically $1,055,000. So, and then he has a club option for next year, which will be his age 26 season, where he'll be making 12.4. So that's not going to break the bank. So if you acquire him, he doesn't pan out, you have a club option. You can let him walk for free. If he does pan out, you're only on the hook for next year for 12.4. And then you can make it some improvements. And then, 2026 is age 27 season. Then at that point, you see if you want to break the bank to retain his services. But like I said, his contract's not bad. It is definitely a really good contract for the Washington Commanders because, again, they don't have to break the bank to acquire him. Now, getting back to the elephant in the room, which is his availability, that's an issue. Like I said, he has had his issues with being injured, man. So let's take a look at his stats, man, because like I said, when healthy, the kid can play. He can play at a high level. Now, obviously, if you're old head like myself, he is the son of the longtime New Orleans Saints wide receiver. So let's take a look at his stats real quick, man. Joe Horn. So like I said, I grew up watching Joe Horn playing for the Saints. So let's look at stat line. So he is in his, I mean, if you look at the 1 year where he played significant games was 2022, where he played 13 games and started all 13. But 2021, his rookie year, he only played and started in 3 games. 2023, he played and started in 4 games. So again, injuries have been an issue. So I think that, yes, a very risky move if you want to trade for J.C. Horn. But right now, Carolina, they're looking to start to sell. They're going to start moving a lot of these players. Deontay Johnson, we're about to talk about him. He's another option for the Washington Commanders. But Carolina right now, they are in this type of situation right now. Bad ownership. I mean, the head coaching, does he have the necessary players to implement in his system? Bryce Young and his issues, they need a lot of work. So you can see them possibly make a move, sending, for J.C. Horn, Deontay Johnson, there's other names on his team because they moved on from Brian Burns this previous offseason. So like I said, they are definitely in a seller's mode right now. So I think you could definitely acquire J.C. Horn. But here's the thing. We all know it's a risky move. He's an injury-prone player. But we can use that to our advantage because with that, you don't have to make a long-term commitment. You could play him this season and see how he meshes with the secondary. And if he doesn't pan out, let him walk. And if he does, you have him next year on the cheap for $12+ million. So like I said, not a bad move. Very, very risky move. And it really depends on what kind of package Carolina is looking for. Like I said, we already went over the picks and in our draft pick situation in Washington. And, we have the picks, but why risk the future on a guy who's injury prone and may not be part of the future? So like I said, it definitely depends on what the asking price is for J.C. Horn. And like I said, he's risky, but you do not have to commit long-term to him beyond this season. All right, let's see. We are on number 3. That was J.C. Horn. All right, number 2, Christian Kirk of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, this kid can play. He is a wide receiver who would definitely take pressure off of Terry McLaurin on the other side. Now, that's the big pro, right? He's a receiver who has shown that he can definitely be a threat in the passing game. So he will be a realistic target, in my opinion. Here's the thing that accompanies him. He's on a 1-year contract. He's on an expiring deal. So if he has a good year, what kind, looking at the current market, what is it going to take for him to be retained? And if you can't retain him, you're looking at, again, what trade package are you looking at? Because why break the bank when it comes to draft capital for a guy who may not be on the team next year? So Christian Kirk is a guy who's very intriguing. He's a guy who can come in and be a really good number 2 for the Washington Commanders and take a lot of pressure off of Terry McLaurin and the offense overall, man. It gives Jane Daniels another weapon. He's got plenty of weapons, but man, one more ain't going to hurt y'all. So look, the trade package is definitely the biggest thing with him. What is the asking price for Christian Kirk? Because right now, if you look at what's going on in Jacksonville, Brian Thomas Jr. right now is looking more and more like the future at number 1 at receiver for what they have going on in Jacksonville. So, and he's a good receiver, man. LSU guy who played with Jay Daniels in LSU. So Like I said, Christian Kirk is a guy that we could definitely retain, or not retain, but hopefully we could retain him if we indeed trade for him. But yeah, the pro is he will take pressure off Terry McLaurin, but he's an expiring contract. So if he pans out, it really depends what the asking price is, because again, you don't want to break the bank for a guy who's not going to be here past next year. If the asking price is too much for what the Washington Commanders are trying to do, then you don't want to spend any draft capital trying to move on, for a guy that who very well could not be on the team next year. And they could ask for a player in return, but looking at what guys who could potentially be a trade piece for the Washington Commanders. Now, Jamin Davis, we haven't seen a lot from him so far. With him attacking from the edge of the season, it's kind of to the point now where do you take your L's when it comes to Jamin Davis and him being a former first round pick, or do you try to see if he has some kind of trade value? That may be a guy that you can send to Jacksonville in return. I wouldn't move Jonathan Allen. I wouldn't move any of these, him or Deron Payne, because again, while Jonathan Allen's name has been connected to trades, you don't want to move on from a guy who is an all-pro talent for a guy who may not be on the team next year. So I think that is realistic, but again, it really depends on what the asking price. All right, so number one, and there's actually two number ones, because I think that both of these guys are not only very realistic moves for the Washington Commanders, but I think that you very well can see when these moves being made at the trade deadline or before the trade deadline this season. We're gonna go with number one, and I have 1 and 1A. So we're gonna roll with number one, Deontay Johnson of the Carolina Panthers, and it's the same thing as Christian Kirk, right? Kind of the same pro, same con. I mean, the pro is he can play. He can play at a high level, and I think that he could be a very good number two. Now, obviously, looking at Terry McLaurin, his size, and most of the size of most of the receivers in the wide receiver core right now, we need a guy with size, and Deontay Johnson is not a guy who checks that box. Looking at the draft this year, I was one of the people that said that the Washington Commanders need to go get a physical receiver on the other side who has some size to him, who can be more of a physical receiver to take a lot of pressure off of Terry, man. Let Terry be that deep threat. We need a guy, a more physical receiver on the other side, more of a 6'3" to 6'5" guy. And, Deontay Johnson doesn't fit that mold. He doesn't check that box size-wise, but he's a guy that defenses are going to pay attention to. And that's why I think he would be a really good number two opposite of Terry McLaurin. Now, what is the con? Same as Christian Kirk. He is on expiring contract. So, you better believe that. Now, I think the difference between Christian Kirk and Deontay Johnson is what kind of contracts, though, because your chances of retaining Deontay Johnson, because it is a rookie scale contract, is higher than it would be with Christian Kirk, where it was just a free agent contract. He's a veteran. So, saying that, you could probably retain Deontay Johnson on the cheap. And he can definitely be that number two receiver for of the future, in my opinion. So, like I said, I think it's a very, very realistic option here. Because, again, yes, it's an inspiring contract, but here's the thing, he's on a rookie scale contract. So, this provision is there that you could retain him on the cheap, as opposed to Christian Kirk, where with him just being a veteran free agent, you're going to have to break the bank a little bit. So, I think that is more realistic with Deontay Johnson over Christian Kirk, because there's provisions in his rookie contract where you can retain him on the cheap. And so I think it's a very realistic move. I think that if you indeed want to make a move at wide receiver and not cornerback, then you look at Deontay Johnson, because again, the Carolina Panthers are pretty bad. And it's really sad because they kind of mirror us a little bit, really great fan base, really nice stadium, really nice city. But the ownership issues and just, the coaching carousel, man, it's just so many reasons why this team's so bad, man. And it's so bad to see that, because we were in the same boat, being Redskins or watching football team or Commanders fans, being under Dan Snyder. We had a owner who was hot garbage for 20 plus years. And it's just sad to see a really good fan base have such an abysmal and terrible owner, man. So like I said, they're definitely in the mode where they're going to get rid of some of these veteran guys, man. And Deontay Johnson, he's a guy that I definitely want to see us make a move for, if indeed we want to make an addition at wide receiver. All right, one alpha. Like I said, we got 6 targets tonight, y'all. So one alpha, T. Higgins of the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, what is the obvious pro here? He is a baller, man. He's a guy who can flat out ball. He is a guy, in my opinion, he's a fringe Pro Bowler. He's a guy in the right system with the right quarterback, with the right coaching situation. He's a guy who can flourish. And when you team him up with Terry McLaurin, this is going to be a nasty offense, man. Especially if you had looking at long-term Luke McCaffrey at the slot, De'Ami Brown at the 4, Noah Brown at 5, and it goes. You still have more options past that. So, looking at that, this guy would make this team a definite Super Bowl team, in my opinion. Because right now, look, the team's 4-1, and it's as much as a lot of us don't want to admit it. It is a surprising start. Now we all hold hope, and all of us are very happy that they're 4-1 because we want to see our team be a good team, but not only be a good team, be a contending team, a team that wants a challenge for a Super Bowl, wants a challenge for the playoffs, wants a challenge for the number one seed, wants a challenge for the NFC East crown. That's what we want, and we're headed that direction, man. Because, like I said, this team is good. They are. I do think they're going to have some growing pains along the way, but they are a good team. Now, are they a finished product? No. There's moves that need to be made, whether it's through the draft, free agency, or in the trade market. And I think that if they indeed want to make a really good impact move, you make a move at this trade deadline. You make a move, man, especially if you're looking to move on from a player from the previous regime, the Ron Rivera era. So, like I said, T. Higgins, man, is that guy that I would definitely target because, like I said, he is on a franchise tag right now. So you could, and even if you have to spend a little bit of cash, you make that move for T. Higgins, man, because number one, he could complement Terry. Number two, he could potentially replace Terry. Now, I love me some Terry McLaurin, but we know that he's getting up there in age, man, to the point where sooner or later you're going to have to find who his replacement is going to be. And I think that if indeed you want to have that future number one option at wide receiver, T. Higgins might be your guy. You're still young. The kid can play, and he could potentially be the replacement for Terry McLaurin. So, like I said, this is a win-win situation for the Commanders. Now, obviously a con, and it's not so much a con, but he is on a franchise tag, and it would require a long-term commitment. So, like I said, if you indeed want to make the commitment for a talent like T. Higgins, I would say go ahead and do that. Because, like I said, the market's going to change. You can sign him on the market where it is because the market is definitely going to change. So I would definitely be in favor of acquiring T. Higgins or Deontay Johnson. But J.C. Horn, I think, could be a really good move. It's a risky move. But, like I said, if he doesn't pan out, there is no long-term commitment. Christian Kirk, very intriguing. But, the fact that it's an expiring contract, to me, is not a long-term move. It's a short-term move where I don't think it's necessary. And the same thing with John Mechie III. You won't break the bank to acquire him, but again, is he really an upgrade for what we have in De'Ami Brown and Noah Brown? I don't think so. And Devontae Adams, I mean, yeah, all pro wide receiver, but a guy where sooner or later his game's going to decline. And when he's owed over $70 million over 2 years, we're good. I don't think we need that smoke, man. So, like I said, to me, the most realistic move is Deontay Johnson of the Carolina Panthers and T. Higgins of the Cincinnati Bengals. So here's the thing. Here's the final question for everybody before we roll. Does the Washington Commanders necessarily need to make a move? And I'm going to say no. They don't need to make a move. They could stand pat because, look, we know this philosophy for Adam Peters is what? Building through the NFL draft and supplementing through free agency. And why does free agency give us kind of an advantage over the trade market? Well, we know where we're getting. We know what the asking price is. If you look at some of the guys we covered, a John Mechie, a Christian Kirk, a Deontay Johnson, T. Higgins, we don't know what they're going to require. You could acquire somebody, and then when it comes to signing them to a long-term deal, the current market price is one thing that's going to often not be in your favor, especially a wide receiver, man, because it is a hot commodity right now. So looking at free agency, what the price tag is. So that's one advantage you have in free agency as opposed to trade. But should they stand pat or should they make a move? And I'm going to say this. It all depends on one single factor, asking price. If the asking price is golden, I think you not only make a move, you make a couple of moves. In my humble opinion, you not only grab a wide receiver, but you grab a cornerback. And I'm looking at J.C. Horn. Risky. But again, why is J.C. Horn a good move in my opinion? Because again, you don't have to have a long-term commitment. There's a club option. If he pans out, you have him for 1 year, and then you can start talking about that extension. If he stays healthy and performs at that high level that we know he can perform to when healthy. So I think that, right now, if you want to kind of make this, it's not really a rebuild, but it's more of a retool. But if you want to shorten this retool, if the price is right, you make a move. But if the price is wrong, stand pat, because we are 4-1. And chemistry, culture are the couple things that are really big with this team, man. The chemistry, it shows. Right now, you see this offense is becoming better and better. And the defense, man, the problem child of the team, they have been playing better. Now the secondary long term is going to need some upgrades. The D line, we'll see. Dorrance Armstrong looks good, but on the other side, we'll see. What we're working with in the offseason as far as the bookends on the D line, and looking at Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, looking at the price tag, looking at the contracts, are we getting our money's worth? So you could see a potential move with one of them. So like I said, the defense needs work, but don't why mess with chemistry if the asking price is too much? Because I wouldn't break the bank honestly for JC Horn. He's risky. The injury concerns are enough where I'm not going to give up a lot of draft capital. And you can argue the same, with T. Higgins, with him being on the tag, you're going to have to commit to him long term. And if you see him as being that guy who can not only take a lot of pressure off of Torrey, being that number 2 guy, Terry, but he can eventually beat his replacement. I mean, Adam Peters and company are going to have to really sit down and say, what are we really realistically willing to give up for a talent like a T. Higgins? Because if the asking price is not bad, I say make that move. So you guys, look, get in the comment section. Let me know what you guys are thinking, man. Which one of these guys would you consider trading for at the trade deadline? And the second question is, do you believe we should stand pat, or do you think we should definitely make a move in this year's trade deadline on November 5th? So get in the comment section and let me know what you guys are thinking. So, all right, everybody. Like I said, really, we covered a lot tonight. 6 great options, man. Devontae Adams, John Metchie III, Christian Kirk, Deontay Johnson, J.C. Horn, and T. Higgins. Which one of them would you definitely strongly consider making a Washington Commander, and why? Definitely let me know in the comment section. So, again, we will see you guys next time. Hail to the Commanders, and peace. See you guys next time.